Hi everyone, welcome to Research Week. Instead of the normal presentation of the discussion synthesis, I thought that I'd just do a short presentation on your research projects. It may be helpful for some of you. In selecting a research project for the course, you have the option of either to develop a feminist community action research project or to conduct a literature review. For those of you that choose to develop a feminist community action research project, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that the purpose of feminist community action and participatory action research is to generate a critical consciousness around gendered oppression. This is what makes it feminist. It also requires that you pay attention to the interlocking and intersecting relations of power, including gender, racialization, class, sexuality, and ability, otherwise intersectionality. It also must address a problem or demonstrate a need. You can't go out and embark on developing a participatory or community action research project if there's no need. You also will need to define the community. This again, where you're paying attention to those intersecting relations of power, gender, racialization, class, sexuality, and ability, you'll want to define the community around those terms. You'll also want to be reflexive. Don't forget to situate yourself in this research project. So you'll just want to identify your relationship to the community that you're developing the project for, and also why are you doing it? Also, community action research projects, they pay attention to standpoints. So you'll be embarking on this with the idea in mind that the participants in the community that you're studying, they're also going to be your co-facilitators and co-collaborators. And so when you're developing it, you want to make sure that you include a space where they can also contribute to however you develop the program or the project. And again, feminist research and community action research in particular, it also honors voice and difference. So again, this is making sure that you're paying attention to when you define your community, that you're thinking about how your community can be collaborators in your research project. And lastly, you'll want to make sure that you center gender in the middle of your project. Gender is always in the analysis. Again, this is what makes it feminist and a feminist approach to community action research. And also, it's transformative research. And so you're doing this with the intent to change something, change the way that things currently operate. And so if we're doing this under a feminist lens, there's an assumption that what you're seeking to change is something around the idea of gendered oppression and its relationship to patriarchy. For those of you that are selecting literature review, I wanted to briefly go over the purpose and scope of literature reviews. Literature reviews vary by discipline. What might be helpful for some of you is to maybe go to Google Scholar and do a search for literature reviews within our field to see just how they're organized and constructed. Literature reviews are a synthesis, not a summary. You're not just going to summarize all the literature that you found on your topic. It also discusses published scholarship. It involves critical analysis and evaluation. It engages theoretical frameworks through critical analysis and evaluation. It uses empirical peer-reviewed research articles, other literature reviews, books, or conceptual pieces to demonstrate relationships. I'll talk more about this later. For your literature review, you want to make sure that you organize all of your literature around a conceptual theme. So if you're going to do, for example, female graduate students' experiences with faculty mentoring, make sure that all of the literature that you compile is closely related to this topic. They can be complementary or contradictory. So for example, you may find some articles and research studies that contradict some of the other ones that you've already found. That's okay, as long as they relate to your broad topic and to form a coherent conceptual relationship. Your thesis should begin with a topic, an issue, or a problem, just like for the community action research projects. They also identify trends or gaps in existing research and scholarship. So if you don't find a lot of research around your topic after you've narrowed it down, that's not always necessarily a bad thing. You may have identified a gap in the existing research. And at the end of your literature review, you know you've done a good literature review if it leads to more questions. What questions remain unanswered after you went and explored the vast bodies of literature on your topic? A couple of literature review do's and don'ts. For some of you, this may be a review, but I just felt the need to go over it anyway. So, a do for literature reviews again is demonstrate relationships. Group literature by theme, organize it by theme, so that you'll end up creating a conceptual framework. You're also going to use theoretical frameworks. Theoretical frameworks are going to be helpful for you for interpretation, analysis, and evaluation of the literature that you find. Be sure to provide a conclusion, highlight implications. So at the end of your literature review, remember the questions that I said that you would find if you've done a good literature review. They may also demonstrate implications for further research or for a change in practice. And be sure to define constructs. So if you're doing a literature review on mentorship amongst female graduate students and faculty, make sure you define mentorship. Not everyone will know what this term means. Also, don't just summarize the literature that you find. What you'll want to do is you'll want to synthesize all of it. If you go through and summarize every single piece that you'll find, you'll end up with a very extensive literature review. Most of us embark on reading literature reviews, and they're very helpful to us in our research, not because we really want a summary, it's because we want the new knowledge that is generated when you conduct a very good synthesis of the literature. Also, don't forget to cite all of your work. Sometimes when you engage with literature so much, some of the ideas that you have may seem very original to your own thinking. But a lot of times it emerges when you've just engaged so much with the research. So if you're ever in doubt, just cite it. And lastly, don't use Wikipedia. So again, for literature review sources, especially at our level, we wouldn't use Wikipedia. We'd really want to stick mainly to peer review. Our major components of an AP literature review. So for your papers, they should structurally be organized like this. You make sure you want to have an introduction. Your introduction is going to go over your overall purpose of your literature review, and it's going to tell us what you're going to do in terms of your literature review. What should we seek to find? You're going to want to review relevant theoretical frameworks. Whatever theoretical framework that you choose for your interpretation and analysis, you're going to want to talk about it. Also, you need to present your major findings. Your major findings are the synthesis of the literature that you've already engaged with and you've read so far. It may be helpful for you after you've organized or put together, compiled all of the literature that you found, is maybe to do some short summaries of them. And then after that, you'll want to synthesize them together. That way, you can encompass a lot of literature in one small section. You're going to also want to offer a discussion. You have to discuss what you found. And this is the synthesis. You're going to discuss and put together all the pieces of the conceptual framework that you just formed once you've organized and presented your literature. Also make sure that there's a section that includes areas for future research. These are research implications. So remember before when I said that sometimes literature demonstrates a gap where it doesn't address or answer or solve a problem? That can be an implication for future research. You'll want to state that. Also, you'll want a section that includes implications for policy and practice. And since we're in education, we're a professional field, usually there are implications for practice that result at the end of literature reviews. I wanted to give you or kind of help add to your toolbox of critical theoretical frameworks in case you're unfamiliar with some of them. These will probably be helpful for you in your research. So the first one is Black feminist epistemology. I've included several scholars whose works are very prominent and often cited that may be helpful for you to even do a Google Scholar search for some of the scholarship that they have done already, just so you can get a sense of the primary or major tenets of this feminist epistemology. Also, there's Chicana feminist epistemology. Critical race theory. In education, we use this a lot. It may be worthwhile for you to even just do a literature search just to look at some of the pieces of scholarship that uses critical race theory as a lens in education. Critical whiteness studies is another good one that I haven't engaged with as frequently as I would like. And there isn't a lot of scholarship that really uses this in education as a lens. So it may be good for you to be able to engage with something. Who knows, at the end of your literature reviews, you may develop something that's publishable. Feminist queer theory, indigenous, post-colonial, transnational feminist epistemology. In the discussion boards, and I was engaged in the discussion, I posted 2 articles. One was from a post-colonialist feminist writer, and another one was from a feminist writer from within transnational who writes on transnational feminist epistemology. I would gladly email those or help you find any other scholarship in any of these areas if you're having trouble looking for them. And then critical pedagogy. If you are not unfamiliar with Paulo Freire's work on pedagogy of the oppressed, it's also something that you may find for you in your literature reviews. And lastly, for the references section, here's some of the works or some of the authors that I just cited on the previous slide. Feel free to do literature researches on those and just do a cursory glance of them just so you can get an idea of how these theoretical frameworks are applied and used. Well, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to email either myself or Dr. Munoz, and I look forward to engaging with you if we have one-on-one conferences. Until next week.